They don't come to us.
Yeah.
Hope everybody enjoyed their lunch. There's still more up there. We're gonna talk about our 70th anniversary gala, and Andrew, if you wanna speak on it.
Thank you. So that's the big thing. How many of you were there? Most of you, excellent. Those that weren't need to be. And what was amazing is how amazing we are. Isn't that true?
Yes.
To sit there and go through 7 decades of service work that we have done and acknowledge some of the agencies that were in the room. I was amazed myself, and we're part of it. So I wanted to just say what a huge success it was. And we're kind of looking at the expenses. We think we're going to be pretty close. We had 149 people there. And that included the Lieutenant Governor and the Mayor. We had huge accolades from different people that sent in notes to say thank you that they were there. I think the one thing that we could have used was a little more mingle time, particularly at the end, even though it was after 9 already. But I wanted to just say a huge thank you, first of all, to the committee. Thank you to our committee, Annie, Sherry, Lauren. Well, I thank you, and Rob too. Rob helped us too with all of that. So that's the first thing. And a lot of that went into the setup. So Sherry and Lauren, some of his family, we were all there during the day to set things up. And at the end of the night, we decided to just leave things, and Lauren went back to the next day. So we want to say a special thank you to you and your group for taking that all on. And I guess the takeaway from all of this is, you know, in this crazy world that's happening right now, Fred and I were just chatting about what's happening in Iran. And I know we're not political as Rotarians, but you know, it affects us. It affects our families. It affects, you know, I think about my grandkids, what kind of world they're going into. But that evening and the work that we do matters, and it makes a positive difference. So I think in our heart, we should all be super happy and super proud. So thank you, Edmonton West.
And in the spirit of peace, John, do you want to stand up and show up your t-shirt? Peace through service. That was given out at an event, well, 3 or 4 months ago. I can't remember the event, but a great t-shirt. And for the 70th anniversary, we also had Ingrid, I don't know if you noticed, I stuck the grill in of my 1955 Chevrolet up on the table. Oh, you did notice? Yeah, the rest of the car to follow when I finish it. Okay, on to the next. We also worked a food bank. And some familiar faces there, Art, Al, John. Annie. Fred, Annie, myself. That was a good night as well, so. Karen. Ken Brander was there. Yeah, which was great. Ken Brander is the former president of our club from 2001, 2002, I think he was. During COVID. And he's coming back. Is he?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. And now I'll introduce Dr. Joe Lazoff here, and he can introduce our guest speaker for the day.
Who is that guy? Who is this stranger? Yeah, it's a real thrill to be back here and to see so many familiar faces, and everyone's so warm and welcoming. I know that I'm going to be able to make it here on a more regular basis, probably in the not too distant future. Yeah, I miss all of you as well. And there's also someone who's been a regular visitor to this club for many, many years. I think her first visit that she came here, she actually got held in Ben Doze's wife's arms, Marley, while the meeting was happening. That's my daughter Elizabeth, and then it's through Elizabeth that we've actually made the connection with the guest speaker for this afternoon. Her name is Julie Strome. Elizabeth took a slightly different route. Elizabeth did a degree in recreational therapy, sports recreation and tourism, and sort of specializing in recreational therapy when she first graduated. And most people will go and work in a senior's residence. And Elizabeth sort of heard a talk from someone by an organization called Pathways to Housing that primarily works in helping homeless people find housing and then helping them stay housed. And we'll hear much more detail about that from Julie here. And through Elizabeth, she actually met some remarkable people. And one of the people that she talked about quite a bit to me was Julie. And Julie's looking like, what the heck was she saying? And let me say, I can say quite comfortably that Julie is one of Elizabeth's heroes. So I'll very quickly, I don't want to cut into Julie's time very much, so I'll just give you a quick bio from her. She originally went to the University of Calgary to start on her pathway to Pathways. She got a degree, a Bachelor of Arts in Social and Cultural Anthropology there. And then from there, she went on to the University of Liverpool, where she did a master's degree in public health. Then after that, she graduated and she moved to Calgary. She started to work as a women's health advocate at an organization called the Calgary Urban Project Society, and then came to Edmonton, where she had several roles with the Bissell Center. First as a FASD community health educator, then she became the team lead on the outreach housing and community bridge eviction prevention for the Bissell Center, and then as manager of housing services at the Bissell Center. Then from there, she moved into the role that she currently holds as the program director for two sort of joined organizations. One's called Pregnancy Pathways, which is, I think, will tell us a little bit more about, maybe. But the one we really are interested in learning about is Pathways to Housing and the Radius Community Health and Healing organization. And Ingrid, you had mentioned about some of the great partnerships that our organization has had over the years, and how that has kind of enriched the club and how the club helps so many other organizations. And from all of the things that Elizabeth's told me about Pathways over the years, I think this might be a marriage made in heaven if it's something that can come together. So anyways, I will, with great pleasure, pass the microphone off to Julie Strome, our guest speaker for today.
Video. I just started out.
Okay.
That's okay. Yeah, over. Yeah, thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you, okay, for inviting me here. As you said, I come from Radius, so Radius Community Health and Healing. There's multiple programs. At Radius, the core of it is the main clinic. It's the only not-for-profit clinic in Edmonton. The main purpose, I guess, of that clinic, which started about 40 years ago, is to work with folks who have traditionally been marginalized, but also traditionally have had struggles accessing the regular health system, have had traditionally troubles accessing housing, and really are not kind of integrated into those systems in the same way. Often they're heavy users of hospitals, and this has already been covered, so I'll go right past that. But the agenda here today, we're going to talk about what an ACT model is, which is what Pathways to Housing is. Maybe touch a little bit on the ACT evaluation. Really, it's evidence-based. It's proven to work, and it's been around for over 20 years, right? And it's really about the attachment of healthcare and mental health services to housing. At the end of the day, often they've lived in silos and not attached. And, the goal of this program is to stabilize people and stabilize them in housing, right? And then work on all those other things that they need support with. Then I'll go specific to Pathways, and then talk a little bit about the importance of funding and the impacts, really, if you kind of remove programs like this from the spectrum. And then, what's coming up and what we want to really focus on and achieve moving forward. So what is an ACT team? It stands for Assertive Community Treatment, and it's a model that's internationally recognized as best practice with intervention within mental health systems. So I feel like the term pathways to housing is a bit, it kind of misrepresents sometimes what this program is, because it's not just housing. It's actually a mental health team that has housing workers and specialists embedded in the team. So we do go by a housing first model, and we believe that people need to be housed and then they can start working on their stuff really after that, because if they're not stable in housing, they're surviving and experiencing homelessness, it's going to be really hard for them to work on stuff like their mental health, like their food security, like their safety in general. A part of the funding model, and one of the reasons why this model was created was to reduce psychiatric hospitalizations. In particular, we're seeing a lot of the same people hitting the hospital over and over again because they were released into homelessness or didn't have those supports to follow them in the community. And obviously with that comes reduced emergency department presentations and reduced justice system involvement. And then obviously with the intensity of the pathways to housing support, we're usually honestly seeing people at least 2 times a week, maybe 3, maybe more if they need it, if they're more stable and they've been in the program down the road. It might be once a month, but it's as much support as they need in those moments, and as much support as landlords need too. We really try to build those relationships with landlords, and they know that they can call us if they need support. But it is really a cost-effective model of care for individuals with very complex needs, and individuals who are disproportionately high users of emergency services. In particular, we're really looking at individuals typically with access 1, so schizophrenia, bipolar, acute trauma, those sorts of things that we're able to support with this specific model. We have a psychiatrist embedded on the team. We have addictions medicine, MD, embedded in the team that are there on Tuesdays and Thursdays, along with all the other wraparound clinical and non-clinical supports. Currently, we have 75 folks on our caseload that we're supporting in community. So these are individuals that hit the hospital a lot before, and now we're supporting them in community. To reduce those hospital visits, but also community integration, which was a big part of Elizabeth's. But basically, this is a fidelity evaluation, and this is what we have to do every single year, and it's quite robust. They're interviewing participants, they're interviewing workers on the team, interviewing or doing deep dives into our data. So this just isn't a program that we're saying is working. To a place where they don't have to be on those anymore. And it's delivered in community to individuals living independently in market housing and some supportive housing sites. We've had to if we've tried and we just know, especially the ones with brain injuries, I feel like it's really hard for them to manage that on their own. And if they need that higher level of support, we've built those connections with those housing providers and worked really hard on that over the past couple of years. Unique program elements. So this is how we're different than other maybe ICM teams or Housing First teams. Is that obviously the embedded primary and psychiatric healthcare. This 20, or you can have a trauma response here, this 24/7 on-call crisis support. So it's after service crisis support. And this is actually a big part of what diverts people from going to hospital, because we have clinical staff that are on call 24/7 to kind of help them manage that crisis, and often diverting them from going to the hospital, not all the time, but it is a big piece of our program that has really supported that. Client financial administration and support. We work closely with hubs. Some people really struggle to manage their finances. So we support, third-party payments for rent, making sure their bills are paid. We have, like collective EPCOR, Shaw, internet, those sorts of things where we'll pay those bills on their behalf if they're unable to do that, because those are things that can lead to evictions as well, obviously. No defined end date to service. This is one of the big reasons, aside from the clinical layer, that I wanted to come over to Radius and to Pathways, because a lot of the programs, they're in place for a year, right? So if you've experienced homelessness for 15 years, you're not going to be okay in a year. It takes a little bit longer and a little bit more support to kind of sort that out. So it's really at their pace with a little bit of pressure. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes, like, to encourage people's independence. And then supportive housing collaboration and coordination, and same with the system. We talk a lot to hospitals. We get involved with discharge planning, that sort of thing, and a big focus on community integration, right? Because if you've, spent 15 years sleeping in encampments or in a shelter, and then we move you to a place where you don't know anybody, it can be really isolating for you without the appropriate support, and feeling like you're a part of a community is huge. So this is what this is about. So we can start it at about 1:14.
Yeah. Sorry, just got that. Yeah. 1:14.
Yeah, if you go down to the line at the bottom.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just maybe.
Housing First has 5 key principles. Principle number 5, social
Remember
and
this from
community integration. Moving to a new area can be a hard experience for anyone and can make you feel pretty isolated and lonely. The Housing First team can help participants build community connections based on their specific needs and interests. The team also fosters community development by providing landlords and community members with education on Housing First, inclusion, and myth-busting negative stereotypes. And though supporting social and community integration may take time, it can go a long way in helping participants establish relationships and support networks within new communities.
I've heard a lot of people say that it took them a long time to stop feeling angry once they were housed and walking around the neighborhood, because people would just walk by them when they were homeless, and they just were so upset by that, like as if they didn't exist just because they were on this bench, and now they're walking around just trying to feel a little forgiveness for all of that time of invisibility.
100 years ago, we had asylums. 50 years ago in BC, we had some very large psychiatric institutions. And then more recently, we have this idea of supported housing where we build apartment blocks. What's in common with all that is the notion that people are living with people who share that experience of mental illness. The scattered site sort of pushes out another level. So now they're living in the same kind of housing that people with jobs have and students and whatnot. On that level of community integration, it feels kind of accomplished in some way. What we haven't accomplished is the social integration and how we relate and include people. And so the sort of the residual stigma and discrimination we have is continuing to be a really significant barrier for people coming into these scattered site communities and really feeling like they belong.
I think it's really a gift for people to be one of many. To be on the bus with other folks on the bus, just going downtown, wherever you're going. To sort of go get your mail out of the mailbox along with everybody else going to get the mail out of the mailbox. in the elevator with other people, living a regular kind of life. So when somebody moves into a new neighborhood, really working on, this is your community. You deserve to be here. And I think the more we believe it, the more others will. And if not, they're gonna have to, because we're coming anyway.
Sometimes you offer a choice and people aren't quite sure what to do with it right away. But of course, it has everything to do with also how successful they're gonna be in that housing, how connected are they going to feel with the community around them. How easily can they access resources used, or how much joy is it gonna be to discover a new community? So, as a worker, it's such a joy to be able to offer that, to be able to present people with choice.
It changes the responsibility for chronic homelessness from the person and from service providers to the wider community, and kind of places the responsibility on the society as a whole. That kind of aligns maybe with the approach in traditional societies where homelessness is less of a problem, where people see that there's, if somebody's in need, then there's like collective solutions to that.
It doesn't feel like a lot of work to me, like to be kind, compassionate, to be loving, to do no harm, to be empowering. Those things are not, those are part of our grandfather teachings, right? Like those things, sacredness, respect and reverence for all life and all humans, and sharing and caring, all that stuff. Like those are hopefully my way of being.
Just in the last year, I'm talking to people in my building. I think that's because we have animal connections. And I tend to talk to the dogs more than the people. Because I don't really like people very much. But that's just because of what I've been through.
When I moved into basic housing, all of a sudden, all these friendly people in the house with me, like that and fun. And they wanted to make friends with me. And I was like, well, I was just visiting in the hospital, and he got out of the hospital, and we're so glad you're back. And everybody. It is having that sense of establishing community where you live. And as simple as having neighbors down the hall that say hi and coming to see you. And it was totally ignoring the fact that you said hi to them. And then we put you together. So
If you ever move to a city as an adult, it takes a long time to meet people and make friends and socialize, and probably in a period of years. And that's what we saw. We probably took quite a while for people to become social. But what we have seen is lots of people having people over to their apartments, making dinners, and often the way they socialize change. We had a lot of neighbor complaints for a while, and they're like, oh, I don't know about this person, they're causing a lot of problems, they're really loud, and they scream, and all of these things, and the landlord was really on his side, and was like, we just need to give it time, and eventually he kind of we thought it would stop getting the complaints, and they started to spend time together, the landlord and this person, and he would go over to their strawberries on the balcony together, and, really start to become known in the community. We've seen a lot of things like that, of just people fitting in and feeling comfortable. From a landlord perspective, they have tenancy issues from all over. They're not from just mentally ill clients who have been homeless. They have people who leave the country. They have students who trash apartments. They don't have any support of those tenants. So landlords just embrace the fact that they have somebody to call.
What we've always kept as our mission statement is to focus on the social determinants of health, the things that we can actually, have some impact on people's lives, like food security, like access to meaningful community participation through, social enterprises that we run, or volunteer positions, recreation, leisure, vocational programs.
I finally stabilized my health. I figured, I'm not gonna get any younger, so I must put in the time working and make some extra money and take myself on a vacation somewhere or something.
People are wanting to know where you worked for those 10 years and why you didn't work, and have a lot of assumptions that they sort of fill in the gaps with. Yeah, we have an employment specialist who's great and helps work through a lot of those pieces.
She started bringing me some of the sheets, and that's what got me going to the point where I thought, if she believes in me, then I should believe in me.
But it's still relying on the public to start having an awareness and openness to hiring different people that really want to be there.
And despite the fact that we provide housing for people, everyone we work with still lives in poverty, like gripping poverty. Making it from check to check is incredibly difficult. So all the barriers of living poor still exist for everyone.
And it's becoming increasingly difficult the longer homelessness stays a problem. Because now there's a whole generation of people, people under 30 think that homelessness is part of the landscape. And it isn't. I think social inclusion is not about the clients, it's about all of us. We all have to make a little room at the table and allow for one more guest to be part of it.
Yeah, I feel
Housing First has
that that video kind of really like sums it up, because we can, put this like psychiatric care in place, but it was positions like Elizabeth's and peer support and those community integration pieces that really made people feel at home, and it was what helped them grow alongside that psychiatric care. And this is why we have a staffing model like this. If you take out one of these positions,
Do they use the microphones?
oh sure, yeah. If you take out one of these positions, the model doesn't work as well, right? It's not as effective. You pull out housing from this model, it's not as effective. Finance and benefits. We've recently added independent living skills, because often people don't know how to cook. They really don't know how to cook, or cleaning their house is not something they've ever learned or seen the value in, right? And a position like that can spend half a day with them, as opposed to just stopping in for 20 minutes here and there. They can actually spend half a day and not for them, but with them, support them to get their apartment cleaned and up to par, so it doesn't lead to things like damages or evictions or whatever. But you don't know what you don't know, right? At the end of the day. So as time goes on and we see those gaps, we're actually really trying to fill them. Depending on what the need is. It has justice advocate in here, but it's doubled up with like a vocational advocate as well. And that's another piece that we're really looking for, because that meaningful daily activity, if you're just sitting at your place all day and you don't have a purpose to your day, then a lot of the other things kind of fall apart, right? There was a guy on our caseload too. Often they want to make goals that are big, right? Like, I want to go to school. I'm like, well, you have agoraphobia, like let's work on like going to the grocery store, leaving your house, right? Like, let's start there. And it's about breaking those things down a little bit further. We're doing exposure therapy with a guy, just riding the bus with him. Do you know what I mean? So that he gets more comfortable doing that on his own. And this started 2 years ago, and now the guy's riding the bus by himself, and he came to a few peer groups. Do you remember this one? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And it's things like that. It takes time. It took 2 years, for that guy to get to a space, where he was able to do that. So just because it's fresh in my head and we've had to have a lot of conversations with government lately, I really wanted to highlight this specific case example. So this individual basically started in our program in 2023, but the 2 years prior to entering our program, prior to intake, that person had 27 hospital admissions, 26 emergency department visits, and 300 days in hospital. Like, that's almost a full year, that she spent in hospital under a psych admission. And the 2 years post, she's only had 4 admissions and only 21 days in hospital. So it kind of shows the impact of having enough support in place and what that can do. Even for hospital beds, that's the big thing right now, opening up hospital beds. She had 43 ED presentations, but I think that has something to do with the fact that she wasn't in hospital, right, for 300 days of that. So you can't really get admitted to ER if you're already in hospital at the end of the day. But this really involved a lot of communication between our clinical staff and the hospital, and a lot of case conferencing, and a lot of redirecting the client back to P2H for services. Heavy user of the on-call phone for the first little bit, but she's moved into and that's part of the redirection too. But now we've got her into a supportive housing site where there's staff on site, and that's reduced significantly too. So it takes a while, but she's getting to where she needs to be to feel like that feel like she can, sort of belong in community and not just need to go to the ER every time. She feels like she's having a crisis. I'm just gonna move ahead. This is another one that I think really stands out for me. So, this was, I got this data for a report that I was writing, or a grant I was writing, but there was 142 eviction prevention efforts from our housing specialists and the clinical team, and ILS kind of stepping in. And that was for 22 individuals in the course of 3 months. And these are individuals that would have otherwise been evicted. The landlord would have been left high and dry. So it's really about stepping in quickly. Do you know what I mean? To support folks when they're, when their mental health is failing or they're feeling lonely or whatever. We see them enough. But a large majority of those were AISH related, so not even their fault. It was a system challenge where their third parties were cut off. We had to sit on hold with AISH, things like that, communicate with the landlord, let them know their money's coming. So a big part of that was actually system related. Postal strike, that wasn't fun for anyone, right? Those sorts of things happening in that time. But it's a huge amount of effort in the beginning. And these 22 people are probably like newer intakes. Do you know what I mean, to the program? So there's other ones that down the road, you won't see this as much because we're involved. And the landlords felt supported in these situations. And know that they can call us and we'll step in very, very quickly and be kind of on top of it. We had a guy that had a huge hoarding issue. And slowly, do you know what I mean? Like making sure, when we moved him from the one place, do you know what I mean? The old place where he came into our program through that place, it wasn't habitable at all. But worked with him out of a hotel first, just to like support him to like actually let go of some of that stuff. And it's been going really, really well. He's been staying in the place that he's been at for a year. We've arranged with the landlord to go in with the landlord. So it's kind of his cue to make sure things are cleaned up once every 3 months to check out the place as like an official, do you know what I mean? Check and balance. But otherwise we're in there like 3 times a week. Do you know what I mean? Supporting him, but the landlord feels involved. The landlord feels comfortable. And it's our goal always to have everyone feel supported, and we know that landlords are a huge stakeholder in this whole process. So I mean, I feel like I've already talked about what we do, but right now I feel like everything's precarious. But without teams like this, there is increased risk of hospitalization, homelessness, reduced support for individuals under community treatment orders, and really like lack of access to integrated health and addictions care, right? Like they just wouldn't be able to get through that process initially without support. And greater vulnerability to exploitation and unsafe living conditions. When someone has a brain injury, they have mental health issues, they're vulnerable and people know that. Do you know what I mean? So people exploit that, and with our involvement, it's a lot harder to do that. So program optimization. So really, we're really working with the government to create an intake pathway directly from acute care, because we know that's the hot topic right now. And we've actually done a pretty good job of Connect Care is part of the issue, right? And getting access to Connect Care, but now we do, and it took a lot of advocacy to get that way, and like communicating directly with hospital, because what was happening is people were being discharged into homelessness, right? So if we can get in there before that happens, then the chances of them going back to homelessness is significantly reduced, because we can step in and provide that care right away. So that's been greatly improved. Our last 4 intakes have come right from hospital. And then obviously continued access to rent subsidies and housing startups, stuff like that. But really that increased community integration and vocational efforts is huge. And that part seems to be the part that's underfunded often, right? We're highly reliant, even with food security, right? But food brings the people often for a lot of that programming. So, we have food, they will come. Yeah. And this is a quote. I wrote my dissertation when I was doing my master's degree on frontline worker perspectives on the facilitators and barriers to housing the homeless. And this was one of the quotes, that's always kind of stuck with me. You know, yeah, like in Alberta, we all feel like everyone should pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but often they don't have them. Right? So that's what we do. We create bootstraps. So eventually they have something to hang on to and can pull themselves up after a period of time and with the right supports. And that's it. That's all I got. Do you guys have any questions at all?
We have time for one or two questions. Al?
Yeah, thanks very much. Fascinating work, challenging, I'm sure. It's the scale of the issue that I wonder about. I mean, I understand from, if I've got the numbers right, there's something like 3,000 homeless people in Edmonton. And I look at the resources required to get one person back on track, and I go, holy mackerel, how, I mean, it's almost an impossible job, right? So, do you have any thoughts about, other than, you know, supplying $1 billion to your organization, how do you deal with something that scale? So you're dealing with a slice of it, which is great, but you're only scratching the surface really of the problem.
Yeah, I think one of the big gaps, and it's a gap we're really trying to fill, is like there's no transition plan. People are being released from like prisons without a prearranged housing plan, so they're going right back. Do you know what I mean? To the situations that got them into trouble to begin with. People are being discharged from hospital into homelessness. And those are the opportunities that we're missing. Do you know what I mean? If someone's in hospital under a psych admission for like 30 days, that's such an opportunity. Do you know what I mean? To get in there, get acquainted with them, sort out housing. Do you know what I mean? So it's not that revolving door consistently. I think that's one way. Do you know what I mean? Having the services enter at the right time. For me is something that I've seen like for years. I've been like, why isn't anyone doing that? Right. And why aren't we better connected to that? And I think some of these not-for-profit agencies are expected to do more with the most complex people with less, right? Is what happens. And I think that view that we're other as opposed to part of the system, you know, really needs to change. And I think if we can change that, then I think we're gonna have a lot more success as opposed to spinning our tires. I think it's what we're focusing on as opposed to how many, I guess.
Doug, do you have a question?
Yeah,
Real quick question.
well, it's more of a comment. Julie, I would have to say, really bless you and all of the people that you work with and the organization for what you're trying to do. To Al's point, when 20 years ago, then Premier Stelmach, I talked about the importance of housing. And he put in a massive program to look at building housing. And he very much made the point at the time that if we can put people, you know, into programs like yourself and transition, but the first thing was to have them a safe place for them to, and then have the wraparound services, which you're looking to provide. And he spoke to and at the time he'd said, so 20 years ago, he said, if we could get people out of the hospitals, get them out of the legal system, the medical profession, all these things, so those are the most expensive services that we provide.
It costs less.
And at the time, he mentioned that was $100,000, you know, that if you could get somebody, so he did quantify that.
Yeah.
He used that as an example as why we should be, as a society, we should be investing in that. You know, there's a cost transfer for doing that. The other thing is though that when I go to work in the morning, I drive by 107th Avenue, 101st Street. So most mornings at 6 o'clock when I go to work, no matter what time of year, I'm always confronted with a whole bunch of people standing around that are bent over, sleeping on the street, bombed out, burned out, all things, this sort of thing. And for me, culturally, it's a question of how would you ever engage with? How do you look at this person and say they're human? And they've gone through something, and I wish, you know, I hope and pray that I will never go through. There's a hole that they live that I hope to never live. But so in hearing you talk today, there is a hope. And so, you know, we really appreciate that. And I think, Joe, to your point about, is this something that we can get behind as a club? I think the awareness and the ongoing understanding of how people transition through to being basically homeless, helpless, without rudder, without all that, and how you go through that is really important to helping us understand the advocacy and just what people go through. So I see this as kind of the first step. But you know, really, what you're doing is really, really important, just as on a human level. So, you know, God bless you for that.
Thank you, Doug. Can you keep it under 30 seconds?
Yeah, that's a quick one. I've worked in addictions for 30 years of my life, and I've taken people from the remand and put them into recovery. Our biggest problem right now is there's an avoidance and there's a model that isn't working. People can't wait 60 days to get into treatment.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's got to stop. We don't stop the government from throwing those barriers. We're going to continue. Sadly, I had a heart attack, which ended my career as an addiction specialist. And the only non-medical addiction specialist in Alberta. Running a charity that this organization sponsored for 15, 16 years, more than that. And, you know, I still want to be able to put my hands into something. I spend my days sitting in a chair because I have a major heart problem. I'd love to help.
Yeah, thank you. And that's absolutely what needs to be. There is a new program coming out where it's like bridging that gap in between, like, say, detox and treatment. Because if you put someone in detox and they're back to sleeping in encampments, like, do you know what I mean? It's so futile, right? But if we can step in, find a place for them to stay, do you know what I mean? Or have a direct bridge, right? From that to that. Like, to me, it seems simple. Do you know, but yeah, it's a matter of being able to fill those gaps, and that's where, you know, this team can step in and you know, provide that structure if we get folks early enough in that process. Yeah, but I thank you. We'll take a while. Yeah. You know?
Thank you very much, Julie, for your talk today. And in remembrance of your speech today, we have a Rotary Club of Edmonton West coffee cup. You can put your Starbucks coffee in.
Oh, we do. Oh, you're serious. Okay. Okay.
There's no strings attached.
Thank
So the impression is that I lie all the time. No, I don't. Fred, do we have time for yours?
Yeah, sure. First thing, last call for these shirts that we're gonna take to Guatemala. If anybody's got one, get it to somebody that's going to Guatemala in the next 2 days.
This is working.
Okay, all right, today, acronyms. We did this 3 or 4 weeks ago, but there's more. And the rules are, you should probably know them. If you do, that should make you happy, so you should give a happy buck. If you don't, well, that's a $2 fine, okay? And guests can play, but they don't have to pay, okay? So, starting with Joe, who's not a guest.
That's right. New York Stock Exchange.
New York Stock Exchange, correct.
I'll pay
Let's
you.
get happy buck.
There you go.
Or 5.
Mike,
Young Men's Christian Association.
right on. Anybody get the joke here? What? Okay, good. Doug.
United States Air Force.
Very good.
There we go.
Julie.
what am I doing? Sorry.
What did these run?
Oh,
Anybody who pipes up, okay,
RBI
puts in another.
What is it?
Okay,
runs batted in.
yes, and the ERA. Okay, quiet. Okay, just about. Runs batted in, earned run average. Okay, Lauren.
Her Majesty's Service, something, what's the C for it? Her Majesty's. It's a ship.
Canadian ship, $2. And it's his majesty's now.
I'll pay you in Canadian dollars.
Sure. Ingrid.
MIT.
What is it?
The word escapes me.
Ah, well, that's $2. Okay.
Yes, Massachusetts.
There we go.
You get it around.
Jim.
International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Very good. Being an electrical engineer, you probably do that one. Very good. Bob.
Okay. Yes.
American Civil Liberties Union. Myrna.
Yes. You know what, next time they do that was German. I couldn't.
Well, this comes from the Mediterranean, which is close, okay? Excellent.
Okay.
Vic.
The National Institute for the Blind.
Very good. Al. Quiet.
I don't got it.
Okay, Stewart?
Also stands for Madison Square Garden.
True, yes.
Sounds like a university.
Yeah, you're close.
University of California.
And? What campus? What campus?
I think you said it last time.
Oh, did you say? I'm sorry. Got it. Very good.
Yeah.
Rob. Rob, you can't get away.
Oh, okay, yeah. Ku Klux Klan.
Very good. Bad guys. Bruce.
Registered. Well, no, regular officer training plan.
Very good.
Oh,
Good.
good for you.
Andy. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's it.
Children's. Emergency.
What was that? I think you got it.
Yeah, you did it.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
That's still a buck. John.
Major League Baseball?
Very good. David. I'm sorry.
It's a computer term, but that's all I know.
I'm sorry, David. Okay. Art.
Alberta. I don't know. Alberta. Telephone company.
Alberta Trailer Company. That's $2, Art. I got a couple more. Just shut it up.
More extended bad guys.
Systems, yeah.
Close.
Aerospace. When they can change that.
That's it.
All right.
Thank you, Fred. And we have Bruce, you wanted to say something for 1 minute, 39 seconds.
Yeah. Expanded now.
Speak quickly.
Okay, couple of things quickly before I'll have to get away. We have a gentleman that joined us today. I think I got this right now. Krishna Kumar.
Okay.
Naga.
Yeah.
Utu, right? He is considering a club. He was from India and he was Rotarian in India. So I hope okay, that's part one.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other part is on your table, you saw things about the upcoming Indian Rotary event, April 15th. Our club is in, we're gonna be promoting our club, but there'll be other clubs from the Edmonton area as well. The Alberta Teachers Association Auditorium, the evening,
If you wanna come, it's free. You've gotta bring a couple of prospective members. Or one for sure. Anyway, so it's gonna be a fun evening. Get this, we did this a couple of years ago at the Barcelona Theater. So this is a larger, bigger space, and we will be feeding you as well. So please, we got a big grant from Rotary International. So this is gonna, so keep this in mind. Think of people who you might want to have as prospective members for Rotary. Invite them to come along and find out about what's going on. Okay. Yes.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, back to you, Lauren. My 2 minutes are up. Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, I feel like I'm giving everybody the hook today. This month, what are we doing? Guatemala Eye Care, we're leaving on Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. And thank you for all those people who came out Sunday to help pack the hundreds and hundreds of pounds of equipment that we are taking with us. I'm not sure the van is gonna move in Guatemala once we get there, but so that's this Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, and so we were at the airport just after 5. The next meeting is actually 3 weeks down the road. It is a March 30th luncheon meeting. And our guest speaker will be Chelsea Litwin, and she's with the Northern Lights Rotary Club. April 4 coming up.
Talk about, wait a minute, Lauren, you're gonna also advertise it with more about here. Because it's Project Amigo, right? And we sponsor students. So here we go. Well, okay, good.
Right, we, as you know, you received your email letters from Project Christian Islander. Anyway, she's going to be talking about her visit to Project Amigo when we will be able to sort of connect that a little bit more with our students.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, April 4th, Ronald McDonald House, home for dinner, and just contact Annie, she's already gone? Yeah. Okay, and is there anything else for Rotary business?
Like, we got an email this morning that came up from Daryl about an evening to replace one of the meetings.
Yeah, Daryl said he was gonna follow up on that, so if you don't hear from Daryl, it ain't happening. So the next meeting is on the 30th. And we did that because of Guatemala. Half this group is gonna be in Guatemala. So we won't make our minimums for the rooms, so.
Safe travel.
Safe travel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you all, to all those that attended the 70th anniversary. Like I say, I finally got the flags put away, all 75 of them, and got my 55 shaft drill put away, so. Anything else for Rotary business? We're good? Okay, and the 4-way test, is it the truth?
Fair, health, concern.
And I forgot the bell today, so bing.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Yes. The time he was walking around with his suit.
Yes.
Well, it's not story so much. You're looking all the time, but I look up and jump. And I contract that's the wrong way.
Okay, good. I'm saying it.
I actually live where my parents lived when they first got married. I'm in the same building. I've been sold 6 months now.
Oh, okay.
I went, just couldn't get enough, so I'm back in university.
There you go.
Yeah, every year I will make a big career change.
Yeah, I just barely recognize you when you come out. It's very pretty here.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
I do get it from my dad.
Yeah.
There's another treasurer.
Did you turn everything off already?
Say that again.
See you next.
Oh, yeah, well, I'd ask you.